Welcome to Prophecy Dateline on livefaithtv.com. We have an interesting program for you today. Actually, we're going to start a series on the financial calamity of our country and of the world. The real story behind the story. What aren't they telling you? What are we about to face in our home, in our country, and in the world? You know, we see in the news every day about the fiscal cliff. Really, what is it? It's the fact of this: we've overspent to our limit. And when we get beyond the limit set in law that they can't spend anymore, that's when they start to defaulting on their loans. They can't pay Social Security, all these different things. But in all reality, listen, I give no fault to anyone. It took all of us as Americans asleep at the wheel to allow ourselves to get where we're at. So don't blame our president. Don't blame our Congress. We put them in office. They represent us. What's happened? Sin has blinded us. Sin has brought us to a place where we are in financial jeopardy for our country, for your grandkids, and your kids, and your family today. In this series of financial documents, and we will show you the actual website the government sends out that no one ever looks at. The actual website that we will be able to understand even more the perplexities of our country. Jesus said very clearly what would happen in the last days. There'd be problems you will not be able to solve. Times of perplexity. Surely we have come to that. Everybody looks and says, no one's got the answer. No, the answer is here. The answer is in the Bible. The answer is told so clearly that in the last days, we're going to have a one world government, a one world currency, and a one world leader. It's plain and simple. Let's look at this. I'm going to show you a video. And this video is very clear. It's about the global financial crisis. So let's go ahead and start playing the video at this moment, and let's see where we are at. So watch this as we assemble this thing for you at this moment.
Important to the man you're about to meet. David Walker thinks the biggest economic peril facing the nation is being ignored. And for this past year, he's been traveling the country like an Old Testament prophet, urging people to wake up before it's too late. Who is David Walker, and why should we care? He's the nation's top accountant, the Comptroller General of the United States. He's totaled up the government's income, liabilities, and future obligations, and concluded that our current standard of living is unsustainable unless some drastic action is taken, and he's not alone. It's been called the dirty little secret everyone in Washington knows, a set of financial truths so inconvenient that most elected officials don't even want to talk about them, which is exactly why David Walker does.
I would argue that the most serious threat to the United States is not someone hiding in a cave in Afghanistan or Pakistan, but our own fiscal irresponsibility.
As Comptroller General of the United States, he runs the Government Accountability Office that the U.S. has spent, promised, and borrowed itself into such a deep hole it will be unable to climb out if it doesn't act now. As Walker sees it, the survival of the Republic is at stake.
The answer is we suffer from a fiscal cancer. It is growing within us, and if we do not treat it, it could have catastrophic consequences for our country.
Medical dependence of the U.S. taxpayer.
The first baby boomer will reach 62 and be eligible for early retirement or Social Security January 1, 2008. They'll be eligible for Medicare just 3 years later. And when those boomers start retiring en masse, then that will be a tsunami of spending that could swamp our ship of state if we don't get serious.
So what do we have? David Walker. He was let go of his job because he revealed what he just showed you on 60 Minutes. But the national debt clock, I'm going to show you something right now. This is the actual government website called the National Debt Clock. You see this a lot of times in the news, but they never show you the bottom half, which we're going to go to in a minute. But look at this right here. This is our U.S. public debt subject to the limit. So we're coming to the limit at this moment. And that's why our government's not going to be able to pay its bills. That's why that Social Security and all these things will take place. But let me explain something to you. That's going to be passed. You'll see it. This thing we have going in Washington is only to entertain you. I'm sorry, I just feel that way. Because just look at the bottom of the screen now. We see now this right here. This is the Social Security liability. Future liability for Social Security. We got 78 million Americans at this moment are going to retire. We've killed over 50 million Americans who are not paying Social Security, which will able to offset this and the natural thing of time. Then we have prescription drug liability, which George Bush signed in. Then we have Medicare liability, which is taking place right now as people retire. Look at the unfunded liabilities for our country. $122 trillion. I'm sorry to say, but you as an individual, me as an individual, even my little doggy, is $1,061,000 in debt from the unfunded liabilities. Where are we at as a country? Our entire national asset is $92 trillion. We are in debt in the future, $122 trillion. Does that tell you something? That tells you that we as a nation are bankrupt already. We're just waiting for this thing to happen. You no doubt, go to your computer, go to the website. It says usdebtclock.org and look for yourself, but just don't do it before you go to sleep at night. Now, this is the actual United States government website, correct? Now, let's look at one more thing here. The official unemployment is 11,922,000. They admit the actual unemployment is 22,233,000. Why the discrepancy? These are the people who gave up looking for jobs, is almost half as much as what they're admitting to the unemployment. Why are we doing this? What's happened here? We're heading to a one world currency. Plain and simple. A strong American dollar does not need a one world currency. The next segment, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the need of a one world currency. Where did it start? Well, the next program is called Expert Duplicity. And we're going to show you a video portion of Expert Duplicity. Thank you again for so much for being here today. We're going to show you more and more of prophecy as it unfolds. The reality of the news. What is happening? This is Pastor Ron Butram with Prophecy Dateline on livefaithtv.com. Come back and see us again. Shalom.